Hello everyone, I am the Appalachian Dread and I am here to help you today. I know you use this video to fall asleep, so before that like the video and subscribe to the channel. Also, where are you from and what time are you watching? Now get comfortable and relax. Chapter 1. The rain finds the empty door. Rain settles into the cracks of an abandoned place. You stand where no one waits anymore. The silence feels old but not hostile. Something inside remembers footsteps. Rain begins before you notice it, arriving without ceremony, slipping quietly from the sky as though it has been falling here long before you arrive. It gathers along the edges of the road, seeps into the broken seams of stone, and pools where footsteps once paused. You stand still, letting the sound reach you slowly, not loud enough to demand attention, but persistent enough to be felt. The building before you does not announce itself. It rests in silence, worn and patient, its door closed in a way that feels less like refusal and more like forgetting. The wood is swollen from years of weather, paint faded into a color that no longer has a name. Rain traces thin lines along the surface, following grooves carved by time and neglect. You do not reach for the handle. You simply stand and listen. The air feels heavier here. Not oppressive, just full, as if the space remembers being occupied and has not yet accepted its emptiness. You breathe slowly, tasting damp wood, wet earth, and something older beneath it all. The rain deepens, tapping gently against the roof, against the ground, against the door itself. You imagine how many times it has fallen this way before, how many nights the rain has found this empty and stayed anyway. The thought does not make you sad. It makes you quiet. Your presence does not disturb the scene. It feels expected, like the next line in a long, unfinished story. You shift your weight slightly. The sound of your movement feels louder than it should, echoing faintly before being swallowed by the rain. The building does not respond. It does not creak or settle. It simply remains, holding its stillness care. Silence gathers around you. Not the sharp silence of sudden absence, but the soft kind that forms when nothing is in a hurry. The rain fills the gaps gently, smoothing the edges of quiet until it becomes something you can rest inside. You feel watched. Not by eyes, not by anything with intent, but by memory. The walls seem aware, in the way old things are, conscious without curiosity. They do not judge you for standing here. They simply acknowledge that you are. You step closer to the door. The ground yields slightly beneath your feet, damp soil pressing back in quiet agreement. The threshold is marked by wear, a faint depression where countless steps once passed through. You do not cross it. You notice it, respect it, and remain where you are. Rain continues to fall. It darkens the wood further, deepening every line and crack until the door looks almost softer, as though it might open if it remembered how. But it does not move. Neither do you. Your thoughts slow. They drift without direction, settling briefly on impressions rather than ideas. You sense voices that are no longer here, laughter that faded years ago, the echo of hands brushing past this door. None of it feels urgent. None of it asks anything of you. The rain carries everything gently. It smooths the sharpness of time, washing away the need to understand. You realize you are not here to solve anything. You are here to witness. A faint sound reaches you. It might be the rain shifting direction, or the building adjusting slightly under the weight of moisture. It could also be nothing at all. You let it pass without deciding. The silence remains kind. It wraps around you without pressure, allowing your breathing to slow further. Your shoulders drop. The tension you did not realize you were holding loosens its grip. You feel something stir inside. Not fear, not excitement, but recognition. As though some part of you has been here before, or somewhere like it. A place left behind, yet still present in quiet ways. Rain traces the past carefully. Each drop feels deliberate, landing where it needs to, filling spaces that have been waiting patiently. The sound becomes steady, rhythmic, almost soothing. You find yourself matching your breathing to without effort. The door remains closed. It does not invite you in, but it does not turn you away either. It simply exists, holding its boundary with gentle firmness. You appreciate that. Not everything needs to open. The space around you feels settled. The night presses closer, though it does not darken abruptly. Light fades slowly, respectfully, as if aware that this place prefers transitions that take their time. You remain where you are. Your presence feels temporary but welcome. Like rain itself, you are passing through, leaving no demand behind. The building does not cling to you. It does not ask you to stay. A memory flickers, not a clear one, just the sensation of footsteps on wet ground, the sound of a door opening long ago. It fades before it can fully form, leaving only the warmth of familiarity. Rain continues. It has no concern for who arrives or leaves. It does not mind the empty door. It does not mind you. The silence deepens. It becomes layered, textured by rain and distance. You sense how far the world extends beyond this place. How many other doors stand empty? How many other moments exist quietly alongside this one? You feel calm, not because everything is understood, but because nothing demands explanation. The door does not hide anything dangerous. It hides nothing at all. It simply holds what remains of what once was. You take one last breath here. The air fills your lungs slowly, cool and clean. You let it out just as gently, feeling yourself settle further into stillness. The rain finds the empty door again. It taps softly, insistently, like a memory that refuses to fade completely. You do not open the door. You do not need to. You turn slightly, not to leave yet, but to acknowledge that the moment is complete. The building remains behind you, unchanged, content in its solitude. Rain continues to fall, and as you stand there, wrapped in quiet and damp air, you realize this place is not abandoned at all. It is simply waiting, listening, and remembering as the night slowly prepares to lead you somewhere deeper next. Chapter 2, A House That Never Felt Empty. Rain taps gently on old windows. The house holds warmth where no one stands. You sense movement without sound. Some homes remember their past too clearly. The rain returns before you realize it ever left, soft and consistent, brushing the house with the same patience it shows the streets outside. You lie quietly, listening as it finds the roof, the windows, the narrow spaces between walls. Each drop feels deliberate, as though it knows exactly where to land. The sound settles into the structure of the house, becoming part of it rather than something passing through. You are aware of the house in a way you were not before. Not just its shape, but its presence. The way the walls seem to hold the night gently, the way the ceiling feels neither too close nor too far. The rain draws attention to these details, outlining them softly, making the space feel attentive rather than still. You notice how the house does not echo. The rain does not bounce or scatter, it is absorbed. The sound sinks into old wood, into layers of paint and dust, into the quiet history held within the rooms. This absorption feels comforting, as if the house knows how to keep things safe. Your breathing aligns with the rain again, slow and steady. You feel held by the space around you. There is no sense of emptiness here, even though no one else moves through the rooms. The house feels occupied in a way that does not require bodies. You listen more closely. Beneath the rain, there is another sensation, subtle and difficult to describe. Not a sound exactly, but a presence, like warmth lingering after someone has left a room. It does not move quickly. It does not announce itself. It simply exists. You imagine the house at other times, long before this night. Different footsteps, different voices, laughter softened by walls, quiet conversations carried down hallways. The rain feels like it remembers these moments, replaying them silently, letting them drift through the air without sound. The windows tremble slightly as rain gathers and slides downward. You picture the glass reflecting dim light, blurring the outside world into streaks of gray and silver. Inside, the house remains calm, steady, unchanged by the weather. It feels older than the storm, patient enough to wait it out. You sense movement without hearing it. A shift in awareness rather than air. It feels like standing in a room just after someone has passed behind you, close enough to notice, quiet enough not to disturb. The feeling does not bring fear. It brings curiosity, softened by trust. The rain deepens, growing more rhythmic, like fingers tapping thoughtfully against the house. Each tap seems to test the space, confirming its boundaries. The house responds by holding firm, offering shelter without resistance. This exchange feels intimate, practiced, familiar. You realize the house is listening too, not to you directly, but to the night, to the rain, to the quiet exchange happening outside its walls. It feels like a participant rather than an object, aware of the moment unfolding within it. Your mind drifts through the rooms you cannot see, hallways dimly lit, doors closed but not sealed. Furniture arranged carefully, as if expecting return. The house feels prepared, not abandoned. It knows what to do with silence. The rain traces patterns along the roof, some drops faster than others. You imagine water finding old paths, grooves carved over time, roots remembered and reused. The house accepts this easily, accustomed to repetition, to cycles that come and go. You notice how your body relaxes further, tension dissolving into the bed. The house feels supportive, aligned with rest. It does not demand attention. It simply offers space, holding you gently while the rain speaks for both of you. There is a sense that the house remembers nights like this. Other storms, other listeners, other moments of stillness. These memories do not press forward, but they linger, warming to the structure, part of what makes the space feel full. You feel watched, but not in a way that suggests eyes. More like awareness, distributed evenly, present without focus. The feeling is calm, neutral, steady. It does not follow you. It surrounds you, The rain softens again, becoming lighter, more spaced. The house responds by growing quieter, as though matching the change. This subtle synchronization feels intentional, like a conversation held entirely through rhythm and pause. You sense that the house holds stories, but does not tell them outright. They remain embedded, waiting for the right conditions. Tonight, the rain creates those conditions, loosening memories without releasing them fully. Your thoughts slow further, drifting between awareness and rest. You no longer feel the need to define what you sense. The house does not require explanation. Its presence is enough. The air feels warmer now, or perhaps you are simply more aware of it. The house holds heat carefully, distributing it evenly, ensuring comfort. You feel cared for by the space, though you know it is not alive in the way people are. The rain continues, patient and consistent. You imagine it tracing the outline of the house, acknowledging each corner, each edge. The house accepts this attention, steady and unmoving, grounded in place. You realize that emptiness is not the absence of people, but the absence of memory. This house has memory. It holds on to moments the way walls hold warmth, slowly releasing it into the night. Your eyelids grow heavier again, drifting closed for longer stretches. When you open them, nothing has changed, and yet everything feels deeper, more settled. The house remains present and quiet. The rain feels farther away now, as though it has moved deeper into the background. The house remains closer, surrounding you, grounding you. You feel safe within its boundaries. As sleep approaches, you sense that the house is not finished revealing itself. There are more layers, more quiet moments waiting. The rain continues to tap softly, guiding you toward rest, while the house holds its memories just out of reach. As the rain and the house settle into shared silence, you sense that something within these walls is still awake, waiting for the next moment to gently make itself known. Chapter 3. Footsteps that do not belong to you. Rain masks sound until it doesn't. Footsteps echo where floors should be empty. They never rush or follow. They simply exist. You move deeper into the building as rain settles into a steady rhythm outside, its presence constant enough to soften every other sound. Water taps against broken glass and rusted metal, filling the air with a gentle noise that feels almost protective. Your footsteps are slow and careful, each one measured, as if the floor itself deserves patience. At first, you hear only yourself. Your shoes meet the ground with a muted echo, dulled by moisture and age. The sound travels briefly, then fades, absorbed by walls that have learned how to keep secrets. You pause, listening, letting the rain continue its work of smoothing the edges of the world. Then you hear it. Another step, not louder, not softer, simply present. It arrives a moment after yours, close enough to notice but distant enough to feel uncertain. You stop walking, your breath slowing as you hold still. The sound stops too. Rain fills the space again, flowing through the silence as though nothing unusual has happened. You tell yourself it is nothing. Old buildings settle. Floors remember weight. Sound moves strangely here. You continue forward. Your next step lands, and again, there it is. A second footfall, measured and calm, echoing from somewhere just beyond your sight. It does not mimic your pace exactly. It does not try to match you. It simply walks with a walk. You feel no panic. Instead, a quiet curiosity settles in your chest. The footsteps do not feel intrusive. They do not hurry toward you or retreat away. They exist alongside you, as natural as the rain, as steady as the walls. You slow down deliberately. Your foot lowers gently, barely disturbing the floor. The other step follows, respectful, unhurried. You stop again, and once more, the sound ends without hesitation. You are not being followed. You understand this clearly. There is no sense of pursuit, no pressure behind you. The presence moves when you move and rests when you rest, as if observing the same unspoken rules. Rain drips from the ceiling nearby, punctuating the quiet with soft, hollow taps. Each drop sounds final, complete in itself. You notice how the footsteps never overlap with the rain. They wait their turn, slipping into the spaces between sounds. You turn slightly, scanning the shadows. Nothing shifts. Nothing reveals itself. The hallway remains empty, stretched long and patient ahead of you. Doorways line the walls like open mouths that choose not to speak. You step again. The footstep answers. It feels older than the building, older than the moment you are standing in. Not ancient, but familiar in a way that reaches past memory. You feel as though this sound has always existed here, waiting quietly for someone to notice. You move into a larger room. The ceiling rises higher, allowing echoes to breathe. Your step carries farther now, and the answering one does too, clearer in the open space. You notice something then. The footsteps do not come from behind you. They sound as though they belong to the room itself, emerging from different corners, shifting gently, never choosing a single direction. Sometimes they seem to come from the left, sometimes from somewhere ahead, sometimes from nowhere at all. You stand, still, centered. The sound fades completely, leaving only rain in your breathing. You listen carefully, waiting. Nothing returns. The room feels content with the pause. You realize then that the footsteps are not tied to a body, they are tied to motion. As long as you move, the sound exists. When you stop, it rests. There is no intention in it beyond that. No message hidden in the rhythm, no warning or invitation. You walk toward a staircase. The steps are worn, edges rounded by countless ascents and descents. You place your foot carefully on the first stair. Wood creaks softly, protesting the change. Another step sounds lower, deeper, as though someone else has placed weight on the same staircase, but not close enough to share it with you. You climb slowly. Each step you take is answered, always one behind, never closer. You pause halfway up, resting your hand on the railing, slick with moisture. The footsteps pause too. Rain slips through a broken window above, streaking the wall beside you. The building exhales, settling again into stillness. You continue upward. At the top of the stairs, the sound changes slightly, becoming softer, more distant, as though the presence prefers the lower levels. You sense no reluctance, only adjustment. Up here, the rain sounds thinner. It reaches you through the roof in scattered drips rather than steady streams. The air feels lighter, less weighted by memory. You walk down a narrow corridor, boards creaking gently beneath you. The footsteps return, faint but consistent. They sound careful here, as though respecting the fragility of the space. You find yourself mirroring that care, stepping more lightly, breathing more quietly. You stop beside a doorway. Inside, the room is empty, stripped of furniture, stripped of detail. You step inside anyway. The sound follows, echoing once before settling. You turn in a slow circle. Nothing changes. The footsteps do not move closer or farther. They do not react to your attention. They simply remain, like a shadow cast by movement itself. You feel strangely calm. There is no sense of being watched, no tightening in your chest. The presence does not ask for acknowledgement. It does not respond to it either. You walk back into the hallway. Rain grows louder again as you approach a window, wind pushing water against the building's side. The footsteps soften, nearly blending into the storm. You pause there, listening to both. Rain, footsteps, breath, three rhythms sharing the same space without conflict. You understand then that the sound does not belong to you, but it does not oppose you either. It exists independently, yet harmonizes with your movement, like a memory replaying itself when given the chance. You descend the stairs slowly. The footsteps resume their deeper tone. Comfortable again in the lower level, you reach the bottom and step onto solid ground. The room greets you with familiar quiet. You walk toward the exit. Each step is answered one last time, steady and unhurried. As you approach the door, rain grows louder, more insistent, eager to reclaim the space. You stop just before leaving. The footsteps stop with you, fading gently, as if settling back into the building's bones. You stand there for a moment longer, breathing evenly. When you open the door and step outside, rain surrounds you fully. The sound behind you does not follow. The building remains still, holding its quiet companion within. And as you move away, you carry the sense that some footsteps do not need bodies to exist, only motion, memory, and a place willing to listen a little longer. Chapter 4. The school where the bells never rang again. Rain taps gently against broken windows. Hallways stretch longer than memory allows. You feel watched by empty classrooms. The bell never comes. You arrive at the school just as the rain deepens, turning the world soft and reflective. The building rises quietly from the ground. Its bricks darkened by years of weather and waiting. Water slides down tall windows, tracing paths where light once gathered. You pause at the entrance, feeling the weight of a place designed for sound, now wrapped in careful silence. The door opens without resistance. Inside, the air is cool and still, carrying a faint scent of dust and damp paper. Rain continues its gentle tapping against the glass, a patient rhythm that fills the absence left behind. Your footsteps echo lightly across the tiled floor, stretching farther than you expect, as if the hallway has learned how to listen closely. You stand just inside, letting your eyes adjust. Lockers line the walls in long, uninterrupted rows. Some hang slightly open, doors bent and quiet, revealing nothing inside. Others remain sealed, holding on to whatever was last placed there. The hallway extends ahead of you, straight and narrow, disappearing into shadow. You begin to walk. Each step feels deliberate, as though the floor remembers the weight of many feet and welcomes another. The sound of your movement rises, then settles, absorbed by walls that once echoed with voices. Rain answers from outside, steady and reassuring. You wait for a bell. It feels natural to expect one. The space seems built around that moment, the sharp sound that once divided time into neat pieces. But nothing comes. The silence remains unbroken, thick but calm. You pass the first classroom. The door stands open, its window clouded with grime. Inside, rows of desks face a chalkboard faded to a pale gray. Chairs sit tucked in, orderly, as if class might resume at any moment. You step closer, peering inside. The room feels occupied without being full. Not by people, but by attention. You sense that the space is aware of itself, holding onto the idea of learning, of listening. The chalkboard bears faint marks, half-erased equations and marks softened by time. They no longer ask to be read. You move on. The hallway seems longer now, stretching gently, subtly changing as you walk. The rain's rhythm follows you, tapping against different windows, shifting in tone but never stopping. It feels like the building breathes with the storm. Another classroom waits. This one is darker, curtains pulled half letting in thin strips of gray light. Posters peel from the walls, corners curled inward. You do not enter. You simply stand at the doorway, feeling the quiet press softly against you. You realize then that you feel watched. Not in a way that unsettles you, but in a way that acknowledges your presence. The empty rooms seem aware that someone walks the halls again. They do not demand attention. They simply notice. You continue forward. Your footsteps echo, steady and calm. The sound travels ahead of you, then returns, softened. You notice how the echoes never overlap. Each one completes itself before the next begins, like thoughts allowed to finish. The lockers change color as you walk. Paint flakes reveal older layers beneath, hints of different years stacked together. You imagine hands opening and closing them, notes exchanged, laughter slipping through cracks in time. The images arrive gently, then fade. Still no bell. You reach an intersection where hallways branch off in different directions. You pause, listening. Rain fills the pause easily. You choose a path without thinking, turning left. This hallway feels narrower. The ceiling lowers slightly, lights long since darkened. Windows here are smaller, rain streaking down them in uneven lines. Your reflection appears briefly, then disappears as you move. A classroom door creaks softly as the air shifts. You stop, watching it settle again. Nothing else moves. The building seems content with small motions, with reminders that it still exists. You step into the room. Desks are arranged in a circle, unusual, intentional. The center of the room is empty, holding space rather than furniture. You stand there for a moment, feeling as though you have entered a conversation paused mid-thought. The walls are covered with drawings. They are faded but careful, lines still confident. Names are written in the corners, some legible, some blurred beyond recognition. You do not read them aloud. It feels important to let them rest. You leave quietly. Back in the hallway, the sense of being watched returns, steady and neutral. It does not follow you from room to room. It exists everywhere at once, spread thin but constant. Rain grows louder for a moment, wind pushing it harder against the building. The sound rushes through the hall, filling every corner. You welcome it, letting it smooth the silence again. You reach the end of the corridor. A large door stands there, leading you what was once an auditorium. You open it slowly. The space beyond is vast and dim, seats rising in careful rows. The stage sits empty, curtains drawn closed, heavy with dust. You step inside. Your footsteps sound smaller here, swallowed by the size of the room. The air feels thick, as though holding on to applause that never finished echoing. You imagine voices filling the space, then letting them fade. You sit briefly in one of the seats. The chair creaks gently beneath you, acknowledging the weight. You look toward the stage, waiting without knowing why. The curtains move, dark, no bell rings. You stand again and leave the auditorium, closing the door softly behind you. The hallway welcomes you back, familiar now, almost comforting. As you walk, you notice something subtle. The school does not feel abandoned. It feels paused, like a breath held too long, waiting for release. The rain seems to understand this, tapping gently, never rushing. You pass a clock mounted high on the wall. Its hands are frozen, pointing to a time that no longer matters. You look at it briefly, then move on. Time behaves differently here, stretched and quiet. The exit appears ahead. Light from outside filters in, gray and soft. You slow your pace, taking in the last stretch of hallway. The lockers, the doors, the floors all seem to settle as you approach, as if recognizing the end of your visit. You stop once more, listening. Rain distant and near. The building silent and aware. You realize the bell never comes because it no longer needs to. The space has learned how to exist without dividing moments, without urging anyone forward. You open the door and step outside. The rain greets you fully, wrapping you in sound and motion. Behind you, the school remains still, watching without expectation. As you walk away, you understand that some places do not end. They simply wait, holding their quiet until the next listener arrives, and somewhere deeper inside, another hallway is already preparing to be explored. Chapter 5, Light seen in a powerless building. Rain reflects a glow where darkness should live. One room appears briefly alive. No wires hum, no switches move. The light fades slowly. You stand beneath the rain again, watching it fall in long, patient lines against the side of the building. This place was never meant to shine anymore. The windows are dark, the walls heavy with age, and the silence around it feels settled, almost permanent. You know this building has no power. The wires were cut long ago, the breakers silent, the switches frozen in useless positions. And yet something glows. It is faint at first, barely noticeable, a suggestion more than a certainty. A soft warmth flickers behind one of the upper windows, as if the darkness hesitates there. You blink slowly, letting your eyes adjust, letting the rain blur and clear your vision again. The light remains. You do not hurry. You have learned that rushing only breaks the moment. Instead, you let the rain soak into your awareness. its steady rhythm grounding you as you step closer. The ground beneath your feet is slick but familiar, holding your weight without protest. The building looms above you, its silhouette uneven, softened by years of neglect and weather. The light does not brighten, it simply exists. You stand still, looking up. The glow sits behind the glass like a memory remembering itself. It does not pulse or flicker wildly. It breathes slowly, almost respectfully, as though knows the building no longer belongs to sudden things. You enter through a door that no longer locks. Inside, the air is colder than outside, damp and unmoving. The rain's sound dulls immediately, replaced by a deeper quiet. Your footsteps echo faintly, then fade, absorbed by the space. The building smells of dust, rust, and old rainwater trapped where it should not be. The light is upstairs. You know this without thinking. Your body responds before your thoughts do, turning toward a stairwell partially hidden in shadow. The steps creak gently beneath you as you climb, each one sounding older than the last. Your breathing stays slow, matching the pace you have learned to keep in places like this. Halfway up, you pause. The light spills faintly into the hallway above, just enough to soften the darkness. It does not chase the shadows away. It simply rests among them, allowing them to exist alongside it. You feel no urgency, no fear, only curiosity, gentle and patient. At the top of the stairs, the hallway opens before you. Doors line the walls, some missing entirely, others hanging crooked on tired hinges. The floorboards are uneven, whispering softly as you step forward. Rain taps against the roof somewhere above, a distant, constant presence reminding you of the world beyond these walls. The light comes from a single room at the end of the hall. You approach slowly, noticing how everything else remains unchanged. No other windows glow, no other corners stir. The building does not wake up for the light. It allows it to exist without comment. You stop at the doorway. Inside the room, the light gathers softly, illuminating shapes without sharpening them. It reveals a desk, a chair, a shelf leaning slightly to one side. Dust floats lazily through the air, visible only because the light allows it to be seen. There are no lamps. No fixtures hum overhead. No cords trail along the floor. You see no switches, no signs of electricity returning to a place that has long forgotten it. The light does not explain itself. You step inside. The floor is solid beneath you, reassuring in its quiet response. The light wraps gently around your presence, not reacting, not changing. It feels as though the room has been waiting, not for you specifically, but for anyone willing to notice. You look closer. The desk is bare except for faint rings where objects once rested. The chair is pulled slightly away, as if someone stood up and never returned. The shelf holds nothing now, but dust outlines where books once leaned together. The light does not come from a source you can name. It fills the space the way warmth fills a room after a fire has burned out. Lingering, residual, kind. You feel it against your skin, not hot, not cold, simply present. You listen. There is no buzzing, no crackling, no distant machinery waking up. The building remains as powerless as it was when you arrived. The light has not brought anything else with it. For a moment, you wonder if it will vanish the instant you acknowledge it. It does not. Instead, it seems to settle further, growing softer at the edges. The shadows deepen slightly, not retreating, but adjusting. You realize then that the light is not fighting the dark. It is sharing space with it. You breathe in slowly. The air feels different here, less heavy, as though the room remembers something gentle. You imagine evenings spent under this glow, quiet work, unhurried thoughts. The images come without faces, without voices. Just impressions, calm and unintrusive. Time feels uncertain. You cannot tell how long you stand there. Minutes stretch thin, then fold back into themselves. The rain continues outside, steady and unchanging. Somewhere below, the building settles, wood shifting softly as it always has. The light begins to fade. Not abruptly, not like a switch being thrown. It dims the way daylight fades at dusk, inch by inch, color softening into gray. You watch without moving, understanding that nothing you do will stop it. As the glow weakens, details blur again. The desk becomes a shape, then an idea. The dust returns to invisibility. The room grows darker, but not empty. You feel no loss, only completion, like the ending of a sentence spoken quietly. When the light finally disappears, the room looks exactly as it should. Dark, still, honest. You remain standing for a moment longer, letting your eyes adjust. The room does not feel colder without the light. It feels settled, satisfied, as though it has done what it needed to do. You turn and leave the room. The hallway welcomes you back with familiar darkness. No other lights appear. No echoes follow you. The building returns fully to itself, unchanged by what you witnessed. You descend the stairs slowly, each step grounding you again. At the bottom you pause, listening to the rain through the walls. It sounds the same as before, unbothered, continuous. You step outside. The rain meets you gently, washing over your shoulders, your thoughts. You look up at the building one last time. The window is dark now, indistinguishable from the rest. There is no sign that anything unusual occurred, and yet you know it did. As you walk away, the image of the light stays with you, not bright, not demanding, but quietly persistent. like a reminder that even powerless places can remember how to glow, and somewhere ahead, another space is already waiting to show you how darkness listens before it responds. Chapter 6, The Hospital That Still Breathes. Rain moves softly through open corridors. The air feels warm in certain rooms. You hear breathing without sound. The building feels awake. Rain follows you through the broken entrance, slipping inside as easily as you do. The doors no longer resist. They hang open, accepting weather time and footsteps without question. You pause just beyond the threshold, letting your eyes adjust to the dim interior. The hospital smells faintly of disinfectant and damp stone, a mixture that should not survive this long, yet somehow has. You step forward slowly. Your footsteps echo down the corridor, then soften, as if the building absorbs the sound before it can fully form. The rain outside fades into a distant presence, replaced by a deeper quiet. It is not silence. It feels layered, like something resting beneath it. The air here is warmer than you expect. It settles against your skin gently, unevenly. Some pockets feel cool and empty, while others hold a strange, living warmth. You move through it as if wading through invisible currents, each step bringing subtle changes you cannot predict. You do not feel alone. The hallway stretches ahead, long and pale, its walls marked by age and peeling paint. Old signs still cling to them, their letters faded but readable. You pass doorways leading into rooms stripped of purpose. Beds are gone. Equipment is missing. Yet the spaces feel prepared, as if waiting rather than abandoned. You listen. There is no machinery running, no generators hum, no alarms chirp or buzz. Still, you sense rhythm. A gentle rise and fall that does not come from sound. It comes from feeling, breathing, not yours. You stop walking. The sensation does not stop with you. The air continues its slow expansion and release, barely noticeable but undeniable once felt. You place a hand against the wall. The surface is cool, solid, unmoving, yet the warmth nearby remains. You move again, following the feeling rather than the layout. The corridor curves into another wing, darker but not colder. Rainwater drips from the ceiling in places, forming shallow puddles that reflect broken lights overhead. Each drop lands softly, in time with the rhythm you feel rather than hear. You pass a nurse's station. Its desk is empty, papers long since dissolved or taken. Chairs are scattered nearby, some tipped over, others carefully tucked in. The arrangement feels intentional, like a moment paused rather than erased. You imagine hands resting here, voices low, movement calm and practiced. The breathing deepens slightly. You notice it most near doorways. Certain rooms hold more warmth, more presence. You step into one without hesitation. The door frame creaks quietly, acknowledging you. Inside, the room is bare except for a single window and a faint outline on the floor where a bed once stood. The air here feels alive. It presses gently against your chest, matching your own breathing until the two rhythms align. You slow without thinking, allowing the synchronization. The sensation is calming, not intrusive. It feels as though the building is listening to you as closely as you listen to it. You close your eyes briefly. The darkness behind your eyelids feels no different from the dimness around you. When you open them again, nothing has changed, yet everything feels more settled. The room accepts your presence without reaction. You step back into the hallway. Further along, you hear something new. Not a sound exactly, but a pressure shift. A suggestion of movement, like lungs filling nearby. You follow it, your footsteps careful, respectful. The operating wing opens wide before you. Large doors stand ajar, their metal dulled by time. Inside, the space is vast, ceilings high, lights hanging uselessly above empty tables. The rain finds its way in here too, tapping lightly against steel and tile. Each tap feels deliberate. The warmth concentrates near the center. You walk toward it, feeling the air grow thicker, heavier with presence. The breathing sensation becomes clearer, more defined. It does not hurry. It does not strain. It simply continues. You imagine the hospital as it once was. Not busy, not frantic, but focused. Controlled movements. Steady hands. Calm voices guiding others through fear. The memory settles into the space, filling it more completely than equipment ever could. You stand still. The breathing seems to notice. The warmth shifts, surrounding you gently, never touching, never retreating. You feel held in the space between inhale and exhale. It is a place of pause, of suspension, where nothing is required of you. You realize then that the building is not haunted. It is inhabited by its own memory. The hospital remembers being useful. It remembers care, attention, watchfulness. Those memories did not leave when the people did. They settled into the walls, the floors, the air itself. You move again, slowly, tracing corridors that lead deeper into the structure. Each wing feels slightly different. Some rooms are cool and empty, their purpose fully released. Others still hold warmth, their breathing faint but steady. You pass a pediatric ward. The air here is lighter, softer. The warmth feels protective rather than heavy. The breathing slows, as if careful not to disturb something fragile. You smile without realizing it, then let the expression fade naturally. Time stretches. You cannot tell how long you walk. The rain outside never stops, but it changes tone, sometimes louder, sometimes softer. Inside, the rhythm remains constant. The hospital does not tire. Eventually, you feel a subtle shift. The breathing begins to recede, not stopping, but moving inward. The warmth draws back in the deeper rooms, into places you do not follow. The building feels as though it is settling down for rest. You understand. You turn toward the exit, retracing your steps without confusion. The corridors guide you gently, their turns familiar now. The doors do not resist. The air cools gradually, evenly preparing you to leave. At the entrance, you pause. You look back one last time, standing in the open doorway as rain falls steadily behind you. The hospital remains still, quiet, but not empty. You feel no sadness, only respect. As you step outside, the rain greets you fully again, washing away warmth, but not the memory. The building behind you continues its slow, steady breathing, unseen but persistent, and as you walk away, you sense that somewhere ahead, another place is already waiting, listening carefully for the moment you arrive. Chapter 6. The elevator that stops on the wrong floor. Rain echoes faintly in the concrete halls. The elevator slows where no button was pressed. The doors open to unfamiliar darkness. You choose not to step out. Rain follows you inside the building, not in drops anymore, but in memory. The sound of it lingers in your ears as the heavy door closes behind you, sealing the night outside. The lobby house quiet, lit by overhead lights that hum softly, their glow reflecting off polished floors. Everything feels orderly or contained, as though the world has been neatly folded away. You walk toward the elevator without urgency. Your footsteps sound softer than expected, absorbed by the space. The air inside the building feels cooler, calmer, holding none of the restlessness of the street. When you press the button, it lights up immediately, as if anticipating your touch. The wait is brief. The elevator arrives with a muted chime, the doors sliding open smoothly. Inside, the space is small but clean, its mirrored walls slightly dulled by time. You step in and turn, watching your reflection settle into the quiet with you. The doors close without hesitation, sealing you inside. You press the button for your floor. The elevator begins to move, rising gently. There is no sudden pull, no lurch, just a steady upward motion that feels almost thoughtful. You listen to the soft whir of machinery, the faint vibration beneath your feet. Your breathing matches the rhythm, naturally slow and even. Floor numbers light up one by one. You lean back slightly, letting your shoulders rest. The enclosed space feels safe rather than confining. The mirrors reflect you from every angle, creating a sense of company without intrusion. You feel held in place, suspended between where you were and where you are going. Then the elevator slows. At first, you think it is your imagination. The motion changes so subtly that it feels more like a thought than a movement. You glance at the panel. Your floor has not been reached yet. The number glowing above the doors does not correspond to any place you remember. The elevator comes to a stop. The silence that follows is gentle, not abrupt. The hum fades, leaving behind a stillness that feels intentional. The doors ring closed for a moment longer than usual, as if considering something. Then they begin to open. The gap widens slowly, revealing a darkness beyond that does not match the building you entered. There is no visible hallway, no patterned carpet or numbered doors. Just a stretch of shadow, deep and quiet, as though light has chosen not to settle there. You remain inside. The air beyond the threshold feels different, cooler, heavier, carrying a scent you cannot quite place. It reminds you of rain-soaked concrete and distant places. The darkness does not move or reach toward you. It simply waits, patient and still. You do not feel afraid. Instead, you feel aware. Your senses sharpen gently, tuning themselves to the moment. You notice the way the elevator light spills outward, stopping abruptly at the edge of the darkness. You notice how quiet your thoughts have become. The elevator does not chime. There is no voice announcing a floor, no warning, no explanation. Just the open doors and the waiting space beyond them. You sense that stepping out is an option, not an instruction. You choose not to move. The decision feels natural, unforced. Staying inside feels like completing a thought rather than avoiding one. The darkness does not respond. It remains as it is, neither inviting nor withdrawing. Time stretches. You are not sure how long the doors remain open. The moment feels unmeasured, detached from clocks and schedules. The rain outside the building feels very far away now, as if belonging to another version of the night. Finally, the doors begin to close. They slide together smoothly, sealing the darkness away without resistance. The elevator hum returns, soft and reassuring. You feel the motion resume, the gentle mise continuing as though nothing unusual has occurred. The floor numbers begin to change again. You exhale, noticing that you had been holding your breath without realizing it. The mirrors show your reflection unchanged, calm, grounded. The space feels familiar again, though something subtle has shifted beneath the surface. When the elevator stops this time, it is exactly where you intended. The doors open to a well-lit hallway, carpeted and quiet. Everything appears normal, expected. You step out, your movements unhurried. The elevator doors close behind you, their reflection disappearing as they slide shut. You stand still for a moment, listening. The building hums softly around you. Somewhere above, pipes murmur. Somewhere below, doors open and close. Life continues in its quiet, ordered way. And yet, you carry the memory of the floor that was never chosen. As you walk down the hallway, the lights overhead seem slightly warmer. Your steps feel lighter. You do not look back at the elevator, but you remain aware of it, resting silently behind its closed doors. You know now that the building contains more than its layout suggests, and you suspect that the elevator remembers you. As you move toward rest, you sense that the next place to open will not be marked by doors or buttons at all, but by the moment you finally stop expecting the night to follow familiar paths. Chapter 8, the town swallowed by silence. Rain falls evenly on empty streets. Signs remain, people do not. You sense life just out of reach. The town listens. Rain spreads evenly across the town as you enter, smoothing edges, filling cracks, softening colors into a single listening surface. Streets extend ahead without interruption, storefronts intact, windows unbroken, doors closed as if recently touched. You walk slowly, hearing your steps dissolve beneath falling water, noticing how silence thickens instead of breaking. Lampposts stand patient, wires sag gently, and puddles gather reflections that do not tremble. Nothing moves except rain, yet everything feels arranged for witnesses. The town does not greet you or resist you. It simply holds still, attentive, like breath paused between thoughts without urgency or demand. Buildings line the main road with careful spacing, brick and paint faded uniformly, signage readable but unnecessary. You pass a cafe where chairs remain pushed inward, menace curled, chalkboard blank yet expectant. Across the street, a grocery displays crates without produce, labels facing outward, prices unchanged. The rain threads between awnings, tapping in measured rhythms that echo memory more than sound. You feel watched without eyes, guided without hands. Every doorway suggests a poacher interrupted mid-gesture, coats unclaimed, conversations suspended. The silence presses gently, asking nothing, offering nothing, inviting you to notice how completely the town has chosen to wait here. You turn down a side street, narrower and quieter, rain falling straight, untroubled by wind. Houses stand shoulder to shoulder, porches sagging slightly, railings smooth from touch. Curtains hang unevenly, some parted, some drawn, none moving. Mailboxes hold envelopes softened by moisture, names blurred but legible enough to feel personal. You imagine footsteps leaving quickly, engines starting, glances backward. Yet panic never reached this place. What lingers instead is deliberation, a collective pause. The town did not flee. It withdrew inward, choosing stillness as shelter, choosing quiet as continuity. You breathe slowly, matching rain, letting thoughts settle without resistance now. At an intersection, traffic lights blink, whites then remain dark, lenses clouded with water. Crosswalk paint fades beneath puddles, lines wavering, directions optional. You stand in the center, feeling the town gather around you, not closing in, simply acknowledging presence. Sound disappears here, even rain dulling into texture rather than noise. Your heartbeat feels loud, then aligns, becoming part of the background. You realize the silence is active, doing work, absorbing disturbances, smoothing edges. This town is not empty. It is listening carefully, learning the weight of every footfall, including yours, and holding memories without judgment or reply tonight quietly. Shops open into dim interiors, shelves bare yet orderly, dust settling evenly. You step inside one, water dripping from your coat, sound vanishing instantly. The air smells of paper and wood, a gentle neutrality. Counters hold registers frozen mid-count, screens dark, drawers closed. A calendar hangs behind the desk, month circled, date marked, pen abandoned. You trace the space with your eyes, sensing decisions concluded calmly. No struggle clings here. The town agreed together, perhaps without words, to stop speaking aloud. Silence became currency, traded freely, shared equally, trusted to preserve what mattered while rain kept counting time patiently outside. You leave the shop and continue walking, shoes soaked, comforted by repetition. Rain draws soft curtains between blocks, shortening sight lines, lengthening thought. Houses repeat with minor differences, a window cracked, a door ajar, a porch light missing. You sense lives threaded through these variations, choices personal and precise. Somewhere, a clock might still tick, but you do not hear it. Time here feels wide, unpressured. The town does not hurry you. It accepts your pace, whatever it becomes, folding your presence gently into its ongoing, wordless vigil as rain continues its patient, even, attentive descent around rooftops and empty sidewalks. A plaza opens unexpectedly, benches arranged around a dry fountain. Rain stipples its stone basin, filling it slowly, respectfully. You sit for a moment, feeling cold seep through fabric, grounding you. The town seems closer here, gathered like an audience without faces. You sense agreement, not surveillance. If you spoke, words would vanish before reaching air. You choose not to test it. Listening feels more appropriate. Silence hums faintly, not sound but sensation, a shared frequency. The town listens to you listening, satisfied with the exchange, content to remain exactly as it is while rain maintains its calm supervision above. You rise and follow a road leading outward, past the last shops, toward homes thinning into fields. Rain grows softer, as if aware of transition. The town recedes without resentment, buildings lowering, windows fewer. You glance back once, sensing attention remains steady, not clinging. Silence stretches but does not snap. It accompanies you, a familiar coat. The town has not swallowed sound forever, it has stored it. When needed, it will return voices intact. For now, quiet reigns gently, guarding streets and memories until footsteps are required again somewhere beyond rain, time, and careful human absence without haste or regret. Beyond the edge, you stop beneath a tree, rain tapping leaves softly. The town rests behind you, complete, untroubled by departure. You feel gratitude without cause, calm without reason. Silence loosens slightly, allowing breath to deepen. Your body understands safety here, though nothing promised it. The town has listened enough, learned your shape, your rhythm. It will remember you as rain remembers ground. You stand quietly, letting the moment finish itself, knowing that when you leave fully, the town will continue listening, unchanged, patient, and hold beneath constant rainfall and watchful, welcoming silence that holds stories without speaking them aloud. Rain carries you onward as night deepens, town fading into awareness rather than sight. You do not feel followed, you feel acknowledged. Silence settles where thought once pressed, smoothing worry into rest. The town remains behind, listening to itself now, streets breathing evenly, signs waiting without longing. You walk with lighter steps, trusting that places can choose quiet and still remain alive. Somewhere behind you, the town continues its vigil, keeping sound safe, keeping memory intact, until another arrival requires witness, and rain introduces them gently, as it introduced you before silence closes again like it is somewhere quietly nearby. Memory begins to blur the town's edges as rain persists, turning corners into impressions. You recall shapes more than details, feelings more than facts. That seems correct. The town prefers being remembered softly. Hard focus would disturb its careful balance. You let recollection thin naturally, like mist lifting. Even now you sense the place listening, not to you anymore, but to rain, to stone, to its own collected quiet. Somewhere within, clocks remain paused, keys hang patiently, doors rest closed. Nothing demands return. The town will be there regardless, held together by silence that knows exactly when to speak again. Sleepiness creeps into your limbs as walking becomes effortless. Rain keeps pace, neither urging nor delaying. You imagine the town settling deeper, streets tucking themselves in, windows dimming further. Silence does not sleep, but it rests. It stretches, content, knowing it has done enough for now. You accept this rhythm, matching breath to steps, steps to rainfall. The world narrows kindly. The town dissolves into background presence, like a remembered song without melody. You are calm, unafraid, and certain that silence, once chosen, can be a form of care that shelters places, people, and passing moments equally beneath falling rain. Eventually the road curves, guiding you away completely. Rain continues its steady work, washing footprints clean. Behind you the town is whole and uninterrupted, silence folded neatly around every structure. You do not worry about forgetting. The town does not need memory to exist. It needs only rain, patience, and time. You move forward with ease, carrying the quiet inside you. Somewhere distant, streets glisten without names, signs wait without voices, and the town listens still, satisfied, as if nothing ever needed to happen differently while rain keeps falling, evenly, endlessly, without commentary over places content to remain unseen forever. Your awareness softens further, edges rounding, thoughts slowing. Rain becomes background comfort, a constant reassurance. The town is gone from sight now, but not from understanding. Silence taught you something simple: absence can be intentional, and quiet can be alive. You carry that lesson easily, like warmth. As night deepens, your steps grow lighter still. Somewhere behind, the town listens, but you no longer need to. Rest approaches naturally, and you allow it, trusting that silence will keep watch where cannot, until morning finds you elsewhere while rain continues softly, faithfully, marking time alone without witnesses or words spoken. As sleep draws closer, you sense that beyond the darkened road, the silence you leave behind is already preparing to listen again. Chapter 9, Voices that live inside broken walls. Rain carries whispers through peeling paint. Voices rise and fall without words. You do not understand them. You are not meant to. Rain slips through cracks in the building before you even step inside, finding its way through broken gutters, missing tiles, and seams where time has gently pulled things apart. You pause at the threshold, sensing that sound behaves differently here. The walls look tired, their paint curled and flaking like old paper, yet the structure stands with quiet determination. As you enter, rain softens into a distant murmur, and the air thickens with a presence that feels layered rather than heavy. You are not alone, but you are not intruding. The building seems to expect listening more than movement, awareness more than action. You walk slowly down a hallway where plaster has fallen away in places, exposing brick beneath. The rain outside presses against the walls, and something responds from within them. At first it sounds like shifting air, a subtle change in pressure, but as you pause, the sound gathers shape. It is not speech, not language, but cadence. A rise, a fall. a gentle overlapping as if many quiet breaths are sharing the same confined space. You do not try to isolate them. The walls are not offering clarity. They are offering texture, memory, and resonance layered over time. Each step you take seems to wake another section of the building. Floorboards creak softly, and the walls answer with faint, wavering tones. You imagine voices once pressed close here, conversations held quietly, arguments softened by fatigue, laughter absorbed by wallpaper. None of it returns as words. What remains is rhythm, emotion without narrative. The rain encourages it, tapping insistently, reminding the structure of its own history. You feel these sounds more than you hear them, like a vibration through your chest and settling there comfortably. You reach a room where the ceiling sags, rainwater staining the corners in dark blooms. The voices grow slightly stronger here, though still indistinct. They seem to move along the walls rather than come from a single point, sliding behind surfaces, dipping into cracks, then remerging elsewhere. You stand still, breathing slowly, letting the building decide what you are allowed to notice. There is no fear in this exchange. The voices do not press toward you. They remain contained, as if respecting a boundary that has existed long before you arrived. The rain outside intensifies, and with it the whispers gain momentum. They swell briefly, then recede, like waves reaching a shore they have memorized. You sense that these sounds are not meant to be interpreted. They do not carry warnings or messages. They are remnants of presence, impressions left behind by countless moments of being alive within these walls. The building remembers how people sounded when they were tired, hopeful, distracted, or quiet. It remembers the tone of living, not the details. You move deeper into the structure, passing doorways that lead into rooms stripped of purpose. A kitchen without appliances, a bedroom without a bed. The walls here are more damaged, paint hanging in long curls, paper exposing older layers beneath. As rain threads through the roof, the voices seem to drift downward, following moisture, following gravity. You notice how carefully they avoid you, never entering your thoughts directly. They hover at the edge of perception, present but not demanding. You realize this is intentional. Understanding would change them, and they do not wish to be changed. In one narrow corridor, the sound shifts again. It becomes almost musical, though no melody forms. The voices overlap in uneven intervals, some lingering, some fading quickly. You feel as though you are standing inside an instrument played by weather and time together. The walls resonate softly, each imperfection contributing to the overall hum. You rest your hand against the surface, feeling cool dampness and faint vibration. The building responds, not startled, simply acknowledging contact before returning to its quiet pattern. The rain slows slightly, and the voices follow. They thin out, stretching, becoming more distant. You sense they are not tied to the rain, but encouraged by it. When water moves through the structure, memory stirs. When it pauses, the building rests. You step into a larger room where windows are boarded unevenly, allowing thin lines of gray light to slip through. Here, the sound settles into a low, steady presence, like a group of people breathing together in sleep. You sit carefully on the floor, dust rising briefly before settling again. The voices surround you now, but they do not close in. They form a perimeter, respectful and calm. You feel no urgency to leave, no pressure to stay. The building simply allows you to share space with its collected echoes. You understand that these voices are not meant for you personally. They are not reaching out. They are continuing something that never needed an audience, only time and shelter. As minutes pass, your thoughts slow. The rain resumes its steady pattern, and the walls answer with soft fluctuations. You feel a sense of balance here, as though the building has found a way to hold everything without collapsing. Broken does not mean empty. Peeling paint does not mean forgotten. The voices live comfortably inside damage, adapting, settling into gaps where clarity once lived. You accept that some things survive not by being preserved, but by being absorbed into their surroundings completely. Eventually, you rise and begin to move again. The voices shift subtly to accommodate your motion, sliding along walls, retreating into corners. They do not follow. They remain exactly where they belong. As you approach the exit, the sound grows fainter, though it never disappears entirely. Even near the door, you can feel it lingering, a quiet undercurrent beneath the rain. You pause once more, listening without expectation, offering nothing but attention. Outside, rain greets you fully, cool and steady. The building behind you stands unchanged, walls holding their murmured interior lives. The voices do not cross the threshold. They remain inside broken walls, content undisturbed by your leaving. You carry no words with you, no understanding to unravel. What you take instead is a calm awareness that not every sound is meant to be heard clearly, and not every presence is meant to be known. You walk away slowly, rain washing the building from view. Behind you, the walls continue their quiet conversation, voices rising and falling in a language that does not require meaning. The world feels softer as you move on, edges less sharp, silence more forgiving. Somewhere, behind peeling paint and damp brick, the voices remain exactly as they are, alive without being seen, heard without being understood, and perfectly content to stay that way as rain continues its patient, gentle descent. As your steps fade into the rain, you sense that the walls behind you continue whispering, already preparing to hold the next silence that will listen. Chapter 10. The factory that never fully shut down. Rain echoes like distant machinery. Metal groans without movement. You feel watched by rusted shadows. Work never truly ended here. Rain reaches the factory long before you do, announcing itself with hollow echoes that bounce between steel walls and broken loading bays. The building rises out of the gray like a memory that refuses to finish fading, its windows clouded, its doors half sealed by corrosion and time. You stand at the entrance, listening. The rain does not fall softly here. It strikes metal, concrete, and forgotten tools, each drop sounding like a tiny signal sent into the depths. The factory answers in slow, patient tones, as if it has been waiting for the right weather to speak again. You step inside, and the temperature shifts immediately. The air feels heavier, warmed by something unseen, something that lingers beneath the surface of stillness. Your footsteps echo, then dissolve, swallowed by the vast interior. Overhead, beams stretch into darkness. Pipes run along ceilings like frozen veins, and machinery rests in rows, coated in rust and dust. Yet nothing feels finished. The silence here is active, humming faintly, as though the building is idling, never fully powered down. Rainwater slips through cracks in the roof, dripping steadily into metal basins, onto conveyor belts, against old control panels. Each impact creates a sound that resembles motion, even though nothing moves. You pause beside a massive press, its surface pitted and flaking. The rain's flaking nearby metal creates a rhythm, uneven but persistent. For a moment, it feels like the machine is breathing, expanding and contracting with the weather. You know it is not alive, yet the sensation remains, gentle and convincing. As you walk deeper into the factory, the rain outside grows louder, amplified by the cavernous space. The sound layers itself, echo over echo, until it becomes difficult to tell where one drop ends and another begins. Somewhere in the distance, metal shifts slightly, not enough to be movement, just enough to be heard. You stop, listening carefully. The noise does not repeat, it does not need to. The factory has made its point, it is still here. It is still listening. You pass workstations lined with tools laid out, as if someone intended to return after a short break. Wrenches, gloves, notebooks swollen from moisture. The rain taps against them gently, as if testing their purpose. You sense attention, not directed at you personally, but spread evenly across the space. The shadows between machines feel occupied, filled with the weight of routine and repetition. This was a place of constant effort, and that effort has soaked into the walls, refusing to leave. The floor vibrates faintly beneath your feet, though no engines run. It could be imagination, or memory pressed into concrete. You breathe slowly, matching your rhythm to the steady dripping around you. The factory responds not with sound, but with atmosphere. The air feels thick with unfinished motion, like a task paused mid-action. You realize that places like this do not simply stop. They slow, they quiet, but something always continues beneath the surface. You approach a long assembly line, its belt frozen in place, its rollers stiff with rust. Rainwater pools along its edges, reflecting dim light from broken windows high above. In the reflection, shadows shift as clouds pass overhead, creating the illusion of movement. You watch without reacting. The factory does not require fear. It only asks for acknowledgement. You sense that the building remembers every sound it once held, every vibration, every footstep, and that the rain is enough to wake those impressions gently. A low groan echoes through the space, distant and drawn out. It could be wind pushing through a loose vent, or metal adjusting to temperature. Either way, it settles into you calmly, like a familiar noise heard during long hours of work. You imagine the factory late at night, machines running, rain falling just like this, workers moving through the aisles without looking up. That rhythm never fully stopped. It simply learned how to exist without people. You rest your hand against a railing, feeling cold metal beneath your fingers. The sensation grounds you. The factory does not pull you in. It does not trap you. It exists alongside you, parallel, continuing its quiet cycle of waiting and remembering. Rain continues to fall, striking surfaces in endless variation. Each sound feels intentional, as though the building is choosing how to respond. You realize that shutdown was never complete here. The factory only changed its definition of work. Further inside, you find a control room, glass cracked but intact. Panels line the walls, dials frozen mid-measurement. Rain taps against the windows softly, and inside the room, the sound is muted, controlled. You sit briefly, letting the quiet surround you. The sensation of being watched returns, not sharply, but evenly, like awareness spread across a wide field. The factory is not observing you. It is aware that you are present, the same way it is aware of rain, rust, and time. When you stand again, the faint hum returns, barely audible, more felt than heard. It could be pipes contracting, or simply the echo of memory repeating itself. You move back toward the entrance slowly, footsteps blending into the factory's ongoing soundscape. Nothing resists your leaving. Nothing follows. The building continues exactly as it was before you arrived, rain maintaining its dialogue with steel and shadow. At the threshold, you pause one last time, listening as rain echoes through the vast interior. The factory holds that sound carefully, shaping it into something that resembles purpose. You understand now that some places never truly stop what they were built to do. They adapt, they remember. They continue in ways that do not require light, motion, or witnesses. You step back outside, rain washing over you fully. Behind you, the factory remains, metal groaning softly, shadows settled into their places. The work inside does not end when you leave. It never did. It simply continues quietly, patiently, waiting for the next moment when rain returns to remind it that it is still here, still listening, still gently, endlessly active. As you walk away through the rain, you sense the factory resuming its quiet rhythm behind you, already settling back into a watchful stillness that never truly rests. Chapter 11. When the wind knows the names. Rain softens into drifting wind. Names pass through the ruins. They feel familiar but misplaced. You listen without answering. The rain loosens its grip as you move deeper into the ruins, thinning into a fine mist that the wind begins to carry. Drops no longer fall straight down. They drift sideways, brushing against stone and broken glass, sliding through open doorways as if searching for something left behind. The sound changes first. Where rain once struck with steady insistence, the wind now whispers, weaving itself through cracks and corridors. You slow your pace, listening. The place feels alert, not tense, simply aware that something different has arrived. The ruins stretch out before you, their shapes softened by time and weather. Walls lean gently, roofs lean to the sky, and vines trace patient paths across brick. The wind moves through everything without resistance, lifting dust, turning loose pages, nudging hanging wires into slow motion. As it passes, it carries more than air. There is a sense of intention in its movement, as though it knows exactly where to go. You feel it brush past your ears, your shoulders, your thoughts. At first, the sounds are only fragments. A breath that lingers a second too long. A syllable that almost forms. You pause beside a doorway that no longer has a door, and the wind slips through, curling inward before escaping again. In that brief moment, you hear it clearly. A name, soft, unforced, spoken without urgency. It does not echo. It does not demand attention. It simply exists, suspended in the moving air. You do not respond. The name feels familiar, but not yours. Or perhaps it once was long ago, in a context that no longer applies. The feeling is gentle, like recognizing handwriting without remembering who wrote it. The wind continues on, undisturbed by your silence. It does not ask again. It does not wait. It carries the sound onward, distributing it evenly through the space. As you walk, more names emerge, each one subtle, each one different. They arrive at different heights and distances, some close enough to feel, others faint and far away. None of them overlap. The wind seems careful, spacing them out, allowing each to exist fully before moving on. You sense no urgency, no confusion. This is not a call. It is a release. The ruins are not trying to reach you. They are letting something go. The ground beneath your feet is uneven, softened by moisture and time. Grass grows where floors once held weight. You step carefully, mindful of where you place yourself. The wind follows your movement, sometimes ahead of you, sometimes circling back. When it passes, the names return, not louder, not clearer, just present. They feel misplaced because they no longer belong to any living mouth, yet they have not forgotten how to be spoken. You reach a wide open area where several buildings have collapsed inward, creating a hollow bowl of stone and debris. The wind gathers here, spinning gently, lifting leaves and fragments into slow arcs. As it turns, the names come again, more numerous now, but still calm. They do not overlap or crowd each other. Each one drifts by with the same careful distance, as if respecting invisible boundaries. You close your eyes briefly, not to block the sound, but to receive it without distraction. The wind brushes your face, cool and steady. The names continue, flowing past your awareness rather than into it. You realize that understanding is not required. These sounds are not meant to be interpreted or answered. They exist because they are remembered, not because they need resolution. Some of the names feel heavier than others, weighted with long use or strong attachment. Others are light, barely touching the air before dissolving. The wind treats them all the same. It does not favor one over another. It carries each gently and partially, as though its only purpose is to ensure that nothing remains trapped. The ruins seem to exhale with every passing breath of air, releasing what they have held without regret. You move toward a staircase that leads nowhere, its upper half missing, its steps worn smooth. The wind travels up it anyway, climbing into open sky. As it passes you, a name forms again, closer this time. It brushes against your awareness like a memory you almost recall. For a moment, you consider responding not aloud, just internally, but something tells you that doing so would change the balance. These names are not seeking recognition. They are passing through, and you are simply standing in the path. You let the moment pass. The wind continues upward, scattering leaves and sound alike. The name dissolves naturally, without resistance. You feel a subtle easing in the air, as if the space itself has relaxed. The ruins remain still, walls unmoving, floors silent, yet the atmosphere feels lighter. Whatever was held here is no longer confined to one place. As you continue walking, the wind grows steadier, more rhythmic. It flows through broken hallways and open courtyards with the confidence of something that knows the layout intimately. Each turn feels intentional. Each pause feels earned. The names appear less frequently now, spaced farther apart, as though the wind is nearing the end of its task. You feel no loss, only completion. In a narrow passage between two leaning walls, the wind slows almost to stillness. Here, only one name passes through, so soft it barely disturbs the air. It lingers longer than the others, hovering near you before drifting onward. The familiarity is strongest here, but still indistinct. You remain silent, breathing evenly, allowing the sound to exist without response. The wind seems to acknowledge this, resuming its movement with quiet approval. Beyond the passage, the ruins open once more, leading back toward the edge of the site. The wind moves freely now, no longer circling, no longer searching. The names do not return. In their absence, the space feels settled, as though a long-held tension has finally eased. You realize that the wind did not come to speak to you. It came to remember aloud, using the ruins as its voice. As you step away, the breeze follows briefly, then veers off, continuing its journey through broken windows and empty rooms. The air around you grows quieter, calmer. Rain no longer falls here. The ground is damp but still. You take one last look back, sensing the absence left behind by the passing names. It does not feel empty. It feels complete. You move on without looking back again, footsteps soft against wet stone. Behind you, the wind continues to travel through the ruins, no longer carrying names, only the gentle sound of air in motion. The place has finished speaking for now. It will remember again someday, when conditions are right, when rain and wind return together, ready to let the past pass through once more. As the wind fades into quiet movement behind you, you sense that the ruins have finished remembering for the moment, holding their silence gently until the next breath awakens them again. Chapter 11, When the Wind Knows the Names. Rain softens into drifting wind. Names pass through the ruins. They feel familiar but misplaced. You listen without answering. The rain loosens its grip as you move deeper into the ruins, thinning into a fine mist that the wind begins to carry. Drops no longer fall straight down. They drift sideways, brushing against stone and broken glass, sliding through open doorways as if searching for something left behind. The sound changes first. Where rain once struck with steady insistence, the wind now whispers, weaving itself through cracks and corridors. You slow your pace, listening. The place feels alert, not tense, simply aware that something different has arrived. The ruins stretch out before you, their shapes softened by time and weather. Walls lean gently, roofs lean to the sky, and vines trace patient paths across brick. The wind moves through everything without resistance, lifting dust, turning loose pages, nudging hanging wires into slow motion. As it passes, it carries more than air. There is a sense of intention in its movement, as though it knows exactly where to go. You feel it brush past your ears, your shoulders, your thoughts. At first, the sounds are only fragments, a breath that lingers a second too long, a syllable that almost forms. You pause beside a doorway that no longer has a door, and the wind slips through, curling inward before escaping again. In that brief moment, you hear it clearly. A name, soft, unforced, spoken without urgency. It does not echo. It does not demand attention. It simply exists, suspended in the moving air. You do not respond. The name feels familiar, but not yours. Or perhaps it once was long ago, in a context that no longer applies. The feeling is gentle, like recognizing handwriting without remembering who wrote it. The wind continues on, undisturbed by your silence. It does not ask again. It does not wait. It carries the sound onward, distributing it evenly through the space. As you walk, more names emerge, each one subtle, each one different. They arrive at different heights and distances, some close enough to feel, others faint and far away. None of them overlap. The wind seems careful, spacing them out, allowing each to exist fully before moving on. You sense no urgency, no confusion. This is not a call. It is a release. The ruins are not trying to reach you. They are letting something go. The ground beneath your feet is uneven, softened by moisture and time. Grass grows where floors once held weight. You step carefully, mindful of where you place yourself. The wind follows your movement, sometimes ahead of you, sometimes circling back. When it passes, the names return, not louder, not clearer, just present. They feel misplaced because they no longer belong to any living mouth, yet they have not forgotten how to be spoken. You reach a wide open area where several buildings have collapsed inward, creating a hollow bowl of stone and debris. The wind gathers here, spinning gently, lifting leaves and fragments into slow arcs. As it turns, the names come again, more numerous now, but still calm. They do not overlap or crowd each other. Each one drifts by with the same careful distance, as if respecting invisible boundaries. You close your eyes briefly, not to block the sound, but to receive it without distraction. The wind brushes your face, cool and steady. The names continue, flowing past your awareness rather than into it. You realize that understanding is not required. These sounds are not meant to be interpreted or answered. They exist because they are remembered, not because they need resolution. Some of the names feel heavier than others, weighted with long use or strong attachment. Others are light, barely touching the air before dissolving. The wind treats them all the same. It does not favor one over another. It carries each gently and partially, as though its only purpose is to ensure that nothing remains trapped. The ruins seem to exhale with every passing breath of air, releasing what they have held without regret. You move toward a staircase that leads nowhere, its upper half missing, its steps worn smooth. The wind travels up it anyway, climbing into open sky. As it passes you, a name forms again, closer this time. It brushes against your awareness like a memory you almost recall. For a moment, you consider responding not aloud, just internally, but something tells you that doing so would change the balance. These names are not seeking recognition. They are passing through, and you are simply standing in the path. You let the moment pass. The wind continues upward, scattering leaves and sound alike. The name dissolves naturally, without resistance. You feel a subtle easing in the air, as if the space itself has relaxed. The ruins remain still, walls unmoving, floors silent, yet the atmosphere feels lighter. Whatever was held here is no longer confined to one place. As you continue walking, the wind grows steadier, more rhythmic. It flows through broken hallways and open courtyards with the confidence of something that knows the layout intimately. Each turn feels intentional. Each pause feels earned. The names appear less frequently now, spaced farther apart, as though the wind is nearing the end of its task. You feel no loss, only completion. In a narrow passage between two leaning walls, the wind slows almost to stillness. Here, only one name passes through, so soft it barely disturbs the air. It lingers longer than the others, hovering near you before drifting onward. The familiarity is strongest here, but still indistinct. You remain silent, breathing evenly, allowing the sound to exist without response. The wind seems to acknowledge this, resuming its movement with quiet approval. Beyond the passage, the ruins open once more, leading back toward the edge of the site. The wind moves freely now, no longer circling, no longer searching. The names do not return. In their absence, the space feels settled, as though a long-held tension has finally eased. You realize that the wind did not come to speak to you. It came to remember aloud, using the ruins as its voice. As you step away, the breeze follows briefly, then veers off, continuing its journey through broken windows and empty rooms. The air around you grows quieter, calmer. Rain no longer falls here. The ground is damp but still. You take one last look back, sensing the absence left behind by the passing names. It does not feel empty. It feels complete. You move on without looking back again, footsteps soft against wet stone. Behind you, the wind continues to travel through the ruins, no longer carrying names, only the gentle sound of air in motion. The place has finished speaking for now. It will remember again someday, when conditions are right, when rain and wind return together, ready to let the past pass through once more. As the wind fades into quiet movement behind you, you sense that the ruins have finished remembering for the moment, holding their silence gently until the next breath awakens them again. Chapter 14, Leaving Without Being Alone. Rain follows you toward the exit. The silence grows closer. You feel watched, not threatened. The place notices your departure. Rain walks with you as you begin to leave, its sound no longer behind or ahead, but beside. Each drop seems aware of your movement, adjusting its rhythm to your pace. You notice this without alarm. The building behind you does not protest your departure. It does not rush you. It simply allows the space between you and it to stretch slowly, like a long exhale. The air feels attentive, as if the place understands that leaving does not mean forgetting. You step forward calmly, aware that silence is not empty here, only closer, more focused. Your footsteps echo softly, yet the sound feels padded, as though the ground itself listens and absorbs what it needs. Rain slides down as you pass, marking your path without following directly. You sense presence, not behind you exactly, but around you, like awareness that does not require direction. The place does not cling. It observes. You move carefully, not because you fear disturbance, but because respect feels natural. The building feels awake in a quiet way, acknowledging your movement as a fact, rather than an interruption during this slow transition outward. As you near the threshold, the air changes subtly. It grows cooler, thinner, yet still familiar. Rain traces the edge of the doorway, hesitating for a moment before continuing outward. You pause there, noticing how the silence feels closer now, more intimate. It does not press in. It leans, curious. You sense that the place is aware of your leaving in the same way it was aware of your arrival. Not emotional, not possessive, simply observant. You breathe evenly, allowing the moment to stretch without urgency or resistance. You step forward, crossing into the open space beyond. Rain meets you fully now, no longer filtered by walls or ceilings. Yet you do not feel alone. The awareness remains not following, but acknowledging. You feel as though eyes rest gently on your back, not to watch what you do next, but to mark the moment of departure. This recognition feels complete. The place does not need you to stay to remember you. It has already adjusted, already counted for the space you occupied briefly within its quiet continuity. You walk a few steps farther, then pause again. The rain steadies, falling with consistent patience. Behind you, the building stands unchanged. You do not need to look to know this. The silence near it remains intact, layered, purposeful. You realize that leaving does not sever connection here. It simply alters distance. The presence you felt inside does not dissolve when you step away. It settles, returning to itself. You are not followed, yet you are not dismissed. The difference feels important, grounding, and strangely comforting. Your awareness shifts outward, toward the path ahead. Still, you carry the sensation of being accompanied. Not by footsteps or sound, but by recognition. The place knows you are leaving. That knowledge remains there, held without urgency. You feel no rush to move faster. Rain guides your pace gently, encouraging steadiness. The night around you feels wider now, but not emptier. You understand that solitude here does not mean absence. It means space where presence can exist without demand or intrusion. As you continue walking, the sound of rain grows more dominant, filling your senses. The silence behind you does not follow, but it does not vanish either. It becomes a memory you can feel rather than hear. You think briefly of the rooms you passed through, the stillness you respected. They remain unchanged, holding their balance. You do not feel that you have taken anything with you. Instead, you feel you were allowed to witness something that continues regardless of observation. This thought settles you further, easing any lingering tension you did not realize you carried. Your steps find rhythm easily now. Rain taps against your clothing, your shoulders, your hands. Each sensation feels grounding. You notice how the world responds normally again, shadows shift. Sounds echo freely. Yet the awareness you felt before lingers softly, reminding you that not all places operate by the same rules. You accept this without question. It does not feel mysterious in a way that demands solving, it feels complete as it is. You walk onward, content to let the experience remain unexamined, intact. The silence around you changes shape as you move farther away. It becomes more like open quiet than enclosed stillness. The difference feels gentle. You realize that being watched did not mean being evaluated. It meant being acknowledged as part of a moment. That moment has passed now, and the place behind you resumes its own internal rhythm. You feel gratitude without knowing exactly why. The feeling does not need direction. It exists comfortably, accompanying your steps like the rain itself, present but never heavy. You reach a point where the building is no longer within easy reach. You know this intuitively. The air feels different here, less dense with memory. Still, you do not feel alone. The night holds you in a broader way now. Rain continues, patient and even. You breathe deeply, noticing how your body responds with ease. Your muscles relax, your thoughts slow. The sense of being accompanied shifts from specific to general. The world itself feels aware, not focused on you, but inclusive of you. You think briefly about how some departures feel unfinished. This one does not. There is no pull backward, no lingering uncertainty. The place noticed you leave, and that was enough. You do not owe it anything further. You did not disturb it, and it did not attempt to hold you. This mutual understanding feels rare and valuable. You carry it with you quietly, not as a lesson, but as a feeling that will surface again, when needed, perhaps in another place that also understands stillness and patience. Rain begins to soften slightly, its rhythm loosening. You adjust your pace naturally. The path ahead feels clear even if unseen. You trust it without needing confirmation. The awareness that once surrounded you now blends into the wider night. You feel steady, unhurried. Leaving without being alone does not feel contradictory anymore. It feels like a reminder that connection does not always require proximity. Some presences exist comfortably at a distance, respectful of movement and change. You continue onward, letting the rain guide you gently forward. The memory of the place remains behind you, intact and undisturbed. You know that if you never return, it will remain as it was. If you do return, it will acknowledge you again without surprise. This certainty brings calm. You do not need to test it. Knowing is enough. You walk into the open night, feeling supported by the quiet understanding that some places do not need to follow you to remain with you in a subtle, lasting way. Your breathing slows further, sensing with the softened rain. The world feels spacious now, welcoming rest rather than vigilance. You sense that this transition is complete. The leaving has finished gently without rupture. You are fully outside now, yet not disconnected. The silence that once felt close has become distant, but not absent. It exists where it belongs. You smile faintly, not in response to anything specific, but to the ease of the moment. The night holds you lightly as you continue forward. The rain thins into a fine mist, barely noticeable. Your thoughts drift without urgency. You feel safe, not because nothing watches, but because whatever notices does so without intent to interfere. This realization settles deeply. You walk on, allowing the rhythm of your steps to carry you toward rest. The place behind you fades fully into stillness. Ahead, the night opens quietly, ready to receive you without question, as you move onward calmly, aware that even as you leave, you are never truly alone in the ways that matter most. Chapter 14, The Calm Before Sleep finally takes you. Rain softens into something distant. The presences begin to recede. Midnight loosens its hold. Your thoughts slow, unresisting. The rain is still there, but it no longer feels close. It has moved slightly away from you, as though it has finished its work and stepped back to observe. The sound fades into a gentle distance, no longer guiding your thoughts, only supporting them. You notice the change without opening your eyes, sensing it the way you sense warmth leaving a room after a fire settles. Your body feels heavier now, not tired in a sharp way, but full and grounded, as if rest has already begun before sleep fully arrives. The surface beneath you feels more present, holding you steadily, asking nothing in return. Your breathing remains slow and even, rising and falling without effort. The night begins to loosen, not all at once. Not dramatically, just enough that you can feel its grip relax. Midnight no longer presses itself into your awareness. The feeling of suspension softens, allowing time to move again, though it does so quietly. You sense the presences withdrawing. They do not leave abruptly. They do not announce their departure. They simply step back, like figures fading into fog. You are aware of the space they leave behind, but it does not feel empty. It feels settled. Rain continues its distant rhythm. Each drop lands softly, no longer demanding attention. The sound blends into the background, becoming a low, steady hush that smooths the edges of your awareness. Your thoughts slow further. They drift instead of forming, floating without direction. There is no need to finish them. There is no need to follow them. They pass through and dissolve on their own. The calm deepens. It spreads gently through your body, loosening muscles, easing small tensions you did not realize you were holding. Your jaw softens. Your shoulders sink. Your hands rest without movement. You feel safe enough to stop paying attention. Not because nothing exists around you, but because everything that does exist feels settled and complete. There is nothing left to watch for, nothing left to notice. Midnight releases you. It steps aside quietly, making room for rest. The night no longer feels like something you are inside of. It feels like something carrying you gently forward. The rain grows softer still. It is barely a sound now, more like a memory of sound. You are aware that it continues, but it no longer anchors you to wakefulness. Your awareness narrows. The room fades. The edges blur. You feel yourself turning inward, not withdrawing but sinking, like something settling naturally to the bottom of calm water. Breath becomes deeper. Each inhale draws in quiet. Each exhale releases the last traces of effort. Your body responds instinctively, knowing this moment well. The presences are gone now. Not erased, not denied, just absent. They have done what they came to do. Their absence does not create unease. It creates space. Sleep moves closer. It does not rush. It does not pull. It approaches the way fog approaches a shoreline, slowly, gently, without resistance. The rain no longer guides you. It watches instead, distant and patient, content to remain where it is while you drift away from it. Your thoughts thin to impressions, light sensations, fleeting images. Nothing holds long enough to matter. Everything softens before it can become solid. You feel the calm before sleep. It is a distinct moment, separate from sleep itself. A pause where nothing is required and nothing is expected. You rest inside it easily. Your eyelids grow heavier. Keeping them closed feels natural now. Keeping them open would take effort you no longer wish to spend. The night breathes with you, not in rhythm, but in harmony. Everything feels aligned, balanced, complete. You let go of the day. Not actively, not intentionally. It simply slips away unnoticed, leaving no trace behind. The rain fades further. It becomes a distant texture rather than a sound, a soft backdrop to the quiet inside you. Sleep reaches you, not fully yet, but enough to blur the line between thought and rest. You feel yourself slipping, not falling, not sinking, just drifting. The calm holds. It does not break. It does not remain steady, guiding you gently into deeper stillness. Your breathing slows again. Each breath feels like a signal that everything is fine, that nothing needs to be done. The last of your awareness loosens. Thought dissolves. Sensation fades. The world grows quiet in the most comfortable way. Sleep takes you. As the rain continues far away and sleep finally closes around you, you sense that the next quiet chapter will unfold somewhere beyond awareness, waiting patiently until you are ready to listen again. Chapter 15, Sleep While the Ruins Remain Awake. Rain continues long after you leave. The abandoned places settle again. Their mysteries remain untouched. Sleep arrives gently, undisturbed. Rain continues after you are gone, falling into places that no longer notice footsteps. You are no longer there to hear how it gathers in corners or slides down fractured walls, but the sound persists anyway. Somewhere behind you, the The ruins hem their quiet patterns uninterrupted by observation. You imagine the rain touching the same surfaces you passed, soaking into dust and memory alike. The places do not miss you. They simply return to themselves, awake in a way that does not require witnesses or acknowledgement. As you move farther away, your body begins to understand that nothing follows. The sense of awareness that once surrounded you loosens its shape, becoming background rather than focus. You breathe more slowly now, your shoulders easing, your thoughts thinning. Rain becomes a distant texture instead of a guide. You feel the night widen around you, offering space rather than attention. The abandoned places remain behind intact, holding their silence with steady patience, continuing without any need to reach beyond their own boundaries. You find yourself thinking less about what you saw and more about how it felt to leave. There was no urgency, no sudden break. The departure unfolded like closing door that never slammed. That gentleness lingers in you now. Each step you take carries less weight. The rain still falls, but it no longer feels connected to you personally. It belongs to the ruins again, to the empty rooms and corridors that accept it without question. You allow that separation to happen fully, without resistance. Your thoughts drift, uninsured to specific images. You do not replay the details of broken windows or quiet hallways. Instead, you feel the overall calm that followed you out. It settles into your body like warmth, easing muscles you did not realize were tense. The night air feels cooler now, cleaner, as if it has been waiting you to relax. You realize that nothing you encountered asked to be understood. It only asked to be left undisturbed, and you honored that simply by leaving when it was time. Somewhere far behind, rain continues to touch old floors and stairwells. It pools in places where no one will step again. The ruins remain awake, not alert, not restless, but present. Their awareness does not travel. It stays exactly where it belongs. You sense this without effort. The understanding feels complete, like a thought that does not need finishing. You walk on, allowing the distance to grow naturally, trusting that the quiet behind you does not thin or weaken just because you are no longer there. Your pace slows without intention. The path ahead feels safe enough to move through without attention. Rain softens further, becoming a whisper against the world rather than a steady voice. You notice how your breathing aligns with this change. Each inhale feels deeper, each exhale longer. The night encourages rest now, not vigilance. You accept this invitation easily. Your mind no longer scans or listens. It drifts, content to let awareness blur at the edges, knowing nothing requires immediate response. You think briefly of sleep, not as an end, but as a continuation. Just as the ruins remain in their own way, you will rest in yours. The idea comforts you. Sleep does not mean absence. It means effort. You feel ready for that. The experiences you carry do not demand interpretation. They settle quietly, becoming part of the background of your thoughts, like distant rain that no longer needs to be heard to be present. As you prepare to rest, your body remembers stillness. You find a place that feels right without needing explanation. Rain remains audible somewhere, but it does not intrude. It feels like a steady promise rather than a distraction. You allow your weight to sink, your muscles to loosen. The night seems to adjust around you, accommodating this pause. You are no longer moving away or toward anything. You are simply here, supported by the quiet understanding that nothing is required of you now. The ruins behind you do not react to this moment. They continue as they were, holding their shapes, their silence, their subtle awareness. Rain traces familiar paths along their surfaces, repeating patterns that have existed long before you arrived. Their mysteries remain untouched, not because they are guarded, but because they do not need to be opened. You respect that distance even as you drift toward rest. Knowing that something remains unknown does not trouble you. It reassures you that not everything needs resolution. Your thoughts slow further, becoming less distinct. Images blur gently, replaced by sensation. The steady rhythm of rain, now distant, blends with the rhythm of your breathing. Each breath feels like permission to let go a little more. You are not afraid of what you might dream. You sense that sleep will be quiet tonight, unburdened by urgency or fear. The places you left behind do not intrude. They remain where they belong, awake but uninterested in crossing into your rest. As sleep approaches, you notice how safe the darkness feels. It does not hide anything you need to see. It simply holds space. The awareness you once felt watching you has dissolved into neutrality. The world does not observe you now. It allows you to rest without attention. This feels like a gift. You accept it by letting your eyelids grow heavy, by allowing your body to settle fully into stillness, trusting that nothing will interrupt this gentle descent. Rain continues its work elsewhere, touching roofs that no longer shelter, floors that no longer support footsteps. The abandoned places remain unchanged by your absence. They do not grow louder or quieter. They simply persist. You find comfort in this constancy. Knowing that something remains steady allows you to release responsibility. You are no longer part of that environment, and that is exactly as it should be. The separation feels clean, respectful, complete. Your breathing becomes slower still, almost imperceptible. Thoughts fade into soft impressions, then into nothing at all. Sleep arrives not as a sudden shift, but as a gradual dimming, like rain thinning into mist. You feel yourself crossing into rest without resistance. There is no final thought, no need to reflect. The night carries you forward gently, allowing consciousness to loosen its grip. You trust that you will wake later, separate again, while the ruins continue their quiet existence without interruption. Even as you sleep, the world does not pause. Rain falls, structures stand, silence holds. You are no longer involved, and that knowledge feels peaceful rather than isolating. Rest wraps around you fully now, undisturbed by memory or expectation. The places you visited remain awake in their own way, but they do not reach for you. They do not need to. You have already left them intact. And now sleep keeps you just as carefully, carrying you into a quiet that feels earned and complete, while the ruins continue listening to the rain.